Welcome to Lemon's World. Today we are going to talk about a team that is just a bunch of normal people building a normal car, and for some reason their team name is Buck Ferkeley.
As it happens, this is a bunch of students from Stanford University, and in fact, they built this car in an underground level of the university parking garage and snuck into the school metal shop, totally against policy, to fabricate things like fender flares. And as college kids, they had to hustle for sponsorship to cover some of the higher priced items like the safety gear.
Okay, so let's back up a second. The car is a 1990 Honda Accord. It's not a Chotus, it's not a Borgward, it's not the kind of thing we usually talk about on this channel, but in reality, this is the best Lemons car you could possibly buy. What is the most important characteristic of a race car? Showing up for the start. What can do that? A Honda Accord.
When they found this car, it was in pretty typical pre-Lemons shape. It was missing its title, had no smog certificate, there was something really wrong with the power steering, all of the suspension, ball joints, bushings, everything was completely blown out, and the engine was idling all funky.
But critically and importantly, they were organized from the start. All the important subsystems, brakes, engine, electrical, they were delegated to specific teams of specific people. They made a list and they worked down the list. They didn't get greedy. They left the motor stock. It's a 2.2 liter F22. It's just a cooking motor. It's got a 5-speed manual. They got eBay coilovers. And then they just went out and hustled for that sponsorship to cover some of the costs. The finishing touch, because these guys were smart, an excellent livery by an art student at Stanford.
Now, as you may or may not, but probably should know, we have various checklists on our website to help teams, especially first-time teams, through this whole process. Now, you have to use the checklist to get the benefit from the checklist, and these kids did, and as a result, they passed their tech on their very first try at their very first race.
Now let me just say, we have professional race teams that show up and they don't pass tech on the first time on their first race, so well done, guys. Now this motor burns a little bit of oil, well, whatever. They got nice wide tires on them, 245 or something like that. Pretty soon they were ticking off. They were like within 2 seconds of the lap record on a 5-mile Thunderhill course.
Partway through day one of that race, they had some ignition problem. The engine just kind of stopped running. They applied the same systemic delegation and very logical progression of diagnosis when trying to fix this problem. One team member, he had the shop manual. Another one had the multimeter. A third one was taking off suspect parts for testing. A little over an hour later, they had accurately diagnosed the problem, which was a bad coil, and they were back on track.
I wonder what a bunch of Berkeley students would have done in that situation.
So we're here, we're trying to stand up for life, for the sacredness of life, and be a community.
So despite that hour off, they actually got everything done. All 7 drivers got significant track time. They beat a V8 Swap 300ZX. They beat a former overall winner of the race. They finished solid mid-pack, and they creamed the Chotus.
Chotus. So what's the moral here? The moral is, if you're a normal person in a normal car, you can do Lemons.